Great. Good job here. Good job. Okay. Welcome on Thursday, March 28th. It's 8 a.m. PST, and this is our, I think, third. Yep. Third. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth already. Oh my God. Fifth community meeting. So excited. Let me share real quick the agenda that we have for today. Share my screen and then we see Jörg. There we are. There we go. So the agenda of today. A 5-minute kickoff. Then we talk about our open caps. We have one more, the stable Kafka one. So I gave 5 minutes to each, but feel free, one takes more, one takes less, but in general, we should take 25 minutes. Then we have an open discussion, proposal for new caps, Q&A, and then a wrap up. So, one thing that we haven't done in the other ones, but we have a few new people here. Yeah, I see Matt Chavez, Toby, kind of new, but not new. But why don't we make a little round real quick to introduce each other, so everyone knows who's doing what. And we start with Tom.
Great, thank you. I'm Tom Runyon. I am currently helping organizations solve business needs with operators. So looking to better understand and implement capabilities in operators easily to solve those problems. I'm doing some work with the US courts right now, and they have a lot of policies that come with government work and procedures that need to be followed. So the ease with which operators can automate a lot of workflows around the infrastructure and the provisioning of projects and management of that infrastructure is where my focus has typically resided. I'm a reviewer, approver. I don't know what the right label is on KUDO.
Okay. Jared?
I'm Jared. I'm from KUDO, and I think we'll just call that committer, Tom. Those are both.
Okay.
Wonderful. Jörg.
Hey, I actually used to be technically, I guess, the first tech lead for KUDO. Now I'm a committer, I guess the first outside committer, right?
Yep.
Making it a true open source project across different orgs. Yay!
Love it. All right. Toby.
I'm Toby. Also helped kick off the project, and I guess my role is more PMing this thing. And so I'm spending a lot of time with folks who want to use KUDO right now to explain to them what it is and how it's different than other approaches to building operators, to try to get more people into the community, both users and more committers.
Awesome. And Matt.
I'm Matt Jarvis. I'm Director of Community at Mesosphere. So I'm kind of interested in how we build community, both from a user perspective and from a developer perspective around this project and all the other projects that Mesosphere are involved in.
Awesome, wonderful. And I'm Fabian Baier. I'm the host of this wonderful meeting for today, and I'm also a contributor and co-worker of Jared and KUDO, and work together with Tom, Jared, Toby, and formerly also Jörg, and everyone here right now on that project. So wonderful. Well, I think we timed it perfect, 5 minutes. So let's just jump into the second agenda point. Update on open caps, and I want to hand it over to Jared with cap number 2, dynamic CRDs.
As I actually have to jump to another meeting, can I just raise one short point?
Absolutely.
Should we maybe consider having these at different times? So, for example, other people I heard, from example, from Vishnu, that he might want to join at some point as well. So just as like a consideration that we actually keep moving times.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Do you propose already a new time that you would better work, you think?
I think it's if you just alter a bit, maybe if you look at, for example, the Kubeflow PM meetings, they have like more times for like different time zones, like one being, for example, Asia friendly, which I don't think there's a need yet, but just kind of like maybe switch it up from time to time, like on a 2-weekly cadence or so. I can propose that in the doc later.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll
Internally in Mesosphere, this slot actually conflicts with the scrums. So anybody from product and all the tech leads and engineering managers are all in that meeting.
So maybe we do a since this one's actually sort of optimized right now for a nice start on Eastern time. Maybe we optimize the Pacific time next time and do like 3 or 4 p.m. and then the one after that optimized for EU time and do
if I'll propose something in the doc following the Kubeflow schedule, because that's actually like switching between both time zones. That's always working okay for me.
Sounds good. All right, I stopped sharing here. So, Jared, feel free to jump in whenever you feel ready.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to share anything document-wise, so you can just reshare that doc. Dynamic CRDs, I haven't had the chance to put any code at this. I've talked with the Cube Builder team a little bit more about doing some reference counting for controller watches. I'm pulling back on that a little bit because that is a more generic implementation and probably the ultimate correct implementation. However, just manually being able to expire a dynamic watch is all we need right now. So I think just wiping that. What I'm working on, or what I will work on as soon as I get the chance to write the code, is deleting the cache key for a given CRD from the informer cache inside a controller runtime, and when it's deleted, so that watch gets expired. I've come up to speed with how controller runtime is doing its informer caches and read through that entire thing, and so I think I'm ready to proceed. It's just a matter of getting that time. So my goal is next week having a more fully fleshed update, and in that case, we'll probably move to a fork of controller runtime until ref counting is in the upstream repo, which is a significantly higher, more deeply scoped change than what I'm talking about. So, fix it for KUDO now, fix it generally later in controller runtime, and move back to it. So that's my update for now. That said, I've done some more thinking about the API, including in versioning, and I'll update the PR with some more thoughts around versioning that I've had, and try to wrap it into there. If we need to split that out into its own thing, that's fine, but I'll start the versioning conversation inside the dynamic CRDs, since that's a direct dependency of dynamic CRDs.
It'd be good to get a lot of feedback on those API formats, on what's an object, where versions are captured, both from developer side, application operator side, and framework provider.
Yes, that's a great point, because which is there an open PR? No, we got that PR in. So I'll start the new PR for the API changes, because I just have the branch right now. Yeah, as much feedback as possible, because this is our public API for the entire V1 API of KUDO going forward.
Right. So there'll be APIs for developers trying to provide frameworks, and then those will create dynamic CRDs that are then consumed by application operators. So we want to think about both sides of that coin.
Yep.
So what I would hope that PR could have some sample configs, some sample docs here with the framework version, maybe plans explicitly, all are, and then this is how someone might go about running those things, and these are the objects that some sample kubectl calls.
I've got an hour or two today where I can put together that initial PR, but maybe we put a high priority focus on this as far as work goes for the next week, of everyone in there inside this PR. I've got another high priority, or one that I would recommend be high priority for the next week as well, and that's Toby's. But if everyone's comfortable with making dynamic CRD is at least reviewing the API high priority, even if you're not contributing code to the project, or Matt, or even get your team involved in looking at this API. That would be huge, so we can solidify that. So as soon as controller runtime is ready, we can do the implementation.
And we can kind of get the implementation working without the fix, and we'll just have this caveat that if you delete a CRD and re-add it, things don't work right. But we can still start playing around with that actual implementation and get it fleshed out. Because I'm sure there are going to be other things that come up, because this is a complicated process flow that I don't think a lot of teams work with.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's...
We're the only ones doing actual a CRD operator, as far as I know.
All right. So another word would be also CRD operator. All right. So KCDO. All right. Any more questions for that, Cap? Should we move to the next, Cap? All right. So the next, Cap, is me, and versioning was a kind of like a good keyword for me. About the CLI, so we merged last Friday the install version of the CLI. In a demo, I noticed that setting some parameters kind of cost some, they were not really written into that instantiated instance CRD. So that is maybe something someone else or I can definitely look at. Before I wanted to do that though, we have in our issues that we file right now the one kind of like advisement on showing your version, kubectl version, but also KUDO version. And we don't have that yet implemented, so that's kind of embarrassing. So I think as a first thing is we look at also like adding this version command to like make it easier if people want to file issues, that this command actually runs and will work. And then on the CLI part, I think we continue then with uninstalling and like making prettier those plan histories and so forth. But yeah, that's right now the latest update of it. And also feel free to test the installation. Just kubectl kudo install Kafka should do the actual trick, for instance, and see if it also breaks something on your laptop or computer. And if so, then feel free to file an issue so I can have a look at it, or other people can have a look at it. But that's it from me so far. Are there any questions? No? 3, 2, 1, sold. Wonderful. Testing Cap 4 with Tom.
Yep. In a different life, I'm actually using the GoMega testing package to build tests for a controller for another client. So I'm actually doing all the background research for how to use this package effectively. So I haven't actually done anything on KUDO yet, but all the gears are working towards being able to do that effectively once I better understand how that's done, and we have specific test cases we want to start developing inside of KUDO. So no progress on actual Go test cases yet, on a knowledge gathering for leveraging something else. All
right, and I think you guys have also Cap 5.
Cluster objects for framework, yeah. This actually came up during some ad hoc conversations about Cap 6. There are other Kafka operators out there already. It'd be interesting if we wanted to find places to supplement that Kafka operator with KUDO by having the cluster object be the installation of the Kafka controller and CRD, and then instantiations of our Kafka stand up one of those, and then we can do actions on that operator maybe more effectively than they've implemented in their own. So it actually came up in conversations there, but no work is actually.
So that is like a stream within a stream, an operator within an operator, kind of.
Sort of. And it also, I think, shows the value add for building what you have already and then having KUDO supplement of a lot of those capabilities. And, you know, we really like the etcd operator. Let's not go with that work that's already been done and just add effective backup and restoration processes so that we can do snapshots and restorations of etcd rather than having to build a whole operator that does everything the current etcd operator does just to get the extra snapshot capability.
Yeah, that would also show how highly flexible KUDO actually is. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of showcase, if you wanted to build a custom plan for something and provide that as, your value add, that would be the right place to kind of showcase that. I think that'd be interesting. But so no updates on that, just thoughts and applications, con-ups on where it might be useful.
Okay, and then Toby with Cap 6, I think.
Yeah, so I got some feedback. Ravi commented on the cap. I don't know if you guys saw it. If someone looked at it, I'd be curious what you think. I think some of the feedback is really good, clarifies a couple things, and then other pieces really expand the scope of this. So I think we just need to decide sort of what's the MVP here, like what's the MVP Kafka that's usable for some use cases, because otherwise I think the scope of this will just be huge and we'll be on this for a long time. So curious what everybody here thinks. Otherwise, my plan was to get with Vishnu and get his take because he works with a lot of Kafka users.
Well, keep in mind, this is the integration slash acceptance version of this framework, and so all we're looking to do here is check off features, and so those user stories looked good for me from that perspective, and then anything that is extended or different or specific to what we're doing won't be encompassed by that cap. So I want to, for purposes beyond this call, I want to make sure we keep those separate and keep this regarded to like a good open source starter Kafka that makes sure we have all the features needed to deliver production ready frameworks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I do. That's basically where I was going because,
Okay.
So I don't know if SSL authentication, just to pick one example, right? If that's really required to ship this, to say this is stable.
Probably not. And then if we were to say, okay, from another sense, right? If someone wanted to the Mesosphere version of that had that, it would probably be sitting into existing KUDO primitives, and if we were missing something, that would be a separate cap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way other operators seem to do this is with sidecars, which we can do now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think yeah, let's divorce those. I agree with you. Let's divorce those two criteria.
Yep.
And the things that are absolutely not possible in KUDO today are the feature driver there towards 1.0 KUDO.
Yep.
So you guys are saying that you don't necessarily believe this N Kafka framework will be production ready. You are saying that it's showcasing that KUDO is capable of producing production ready frameworks.
Yeah, or it's ready to develop a community framework on. So what I want to strike a difference between what our end-to-end testing kind of looks like from a framework perspective versus a framework. That's not to say we don't have a community Kafka framework. I just don't want to. I want to separate. KUDO from the frameworks as far as feature implementation and delivery. I think I feel really strongly about that because I don't obviously I want to drive I want to drive usage of KUDO and features in KUDO by what users are doing, and then focus but also on the other side of the coin, I want a base sanity check that's a more souped up version of the sample, right? I think it's
Yeah, to me, I think I'm with you, Jared. And the way I look at this is, so there will be a point where until that point we need to keep adding features to KUDO to support certain things in Kafka, and then we'll pass that point. Where past that point, it's just all right. Let's expose more Kafka features, expose more knobs, but we're not actually adding features to KUDO anymore, right? And I think that's where I would like to draw the line.
Yeah, because then we'll start to say okay, we have 10 things in our KUDO / frameworks repo, and we're getting the same reports from as frameworks get developed of these things are quality of life issues that we then bring in rather than these are the essentials, right? Right, and that's where KUDO will start to change versus having things that are critically missing, right? Like, for example, just going to our current caps, you could make an argument that like cluster objects, right, to a certain degree, is a something that a framework developer can't do today reasonably. Well, with a good, so yeah, I think we're on the same page.
But something like exposing a connection string, like I did for Flink, is there's a workaround in place where you just have your jobs saved to a config map on the cluster. So that's something that's
So
workable,
like,
not ideal, not nice, but workable.
Or plan execution parameters, right? That's like something that is core driven and essential for like a sane backup experience.
One thought that I had there too is the differentiation between our KUDO repo and our framework repo. And we have one issue open, the spring cleaning one or so, that I opened with like extracting a little bit more those frameworks out of the config samples folder and putting it into the frameworks one and leaving that folder just for really features that we want to showcase. Goes along with what you just said, Jared, that KUDO should like work on specific features, versus also what Toby said at some point, we're just working basically on putting those Lego bricks differently together, and that is already sufficient enough for a framework. So I think we should also keep in mind that maybe it's also good when we discuss a framework, we have that discussion on another repo, the frameworks repo, that then if we identify certain features that are needed for it, that are not built yet, would then open another issue or discussion on the KUDO repo. But,
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, we're all exactly on the same page.
Good.
The only flip side I think I would mention to this too is there's a subtlety in here of when a new feature is introduced, making sure, and we've mentioned this before, not necessarily bound to Kafka, but making sure there's a real sample that feature is attached to. And so that everything's still grounded around developing a framework. So I think we're all on the same page.
Awesome. Then that helps with testing and everything. Perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. So going back to this cap, I know Jared and Jörg, you both looked at it. Do we feel like it's in its current form, it satisfies this goal of, hey, we're putting these features there, primarily to make sure KUDO is feature complete? Or is there something missing? Is there too much in there? I think some of the things are definitely debatable, like Kerberos, for example. Well, what do y'all think?
I think let me just go. Oh yeah, it hasn't been mentioned. There we go. So yeah, I think Kerberos is debatable because
but I did, when I wrote the cap, I kind of kept that in mind. So if you look through the things on there, you want to install it, you want to configure the size of the cluster, you want to run multiple clusters, dependency, readiness check, health check, vertical scaling, horizontal scaling, config changes, upgrade to a new version. TLS Kerberos I put in because they need secrets, file-based secrets.
Are those secrets generated by a CA as part of the deployment, or are they provided as part of the object?
Yeah, so that's one of those issues where I think there's, we could spend a lot of time on this to make this really easy. How I was thinking about it is there is a tutorial that tells you how to, put your private keys, store them as secrets, and they just get exposed. So it'd be sort of you got to do these things before you install the framework. And then later down the road, we can think about automating that too.
Because I think there's going to be some security concerns with trying to embed that secret as part of the instance object. I know we have requirements here for encrypted at rest.
Yeah.
etcd Kubernetes can be configured to encrypt secrets at rest, but I don't know that other objects get encrypted at rest.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an interesting look at how that would.
I didn't think that they would be part of the instance object.
Okay.
No, I think for now, for the scope of this, what I'd imagine is that on the tutorial page for this framework, it says, before you install this instance, create these secrets.
Right.
For now. definitely do that, make that easier later. But yeah, so that's secrets, and then logging and monitoring are essentially the last two. I think those are also things we should just in general think about how, is there something that KUDO should enable around logging and monitoring, or maybe not?
Yep.
I have wanted, when I was building Flink, to do a K-logs instance object, not a job or a pod. I really wanted that centralized. Yes. That would have been really helpful. It is possible to add that. I know OpenShift adds that for some of their custom objects. Just got to figure out, what that looks like.
Yeah,
but that would have been helpful.
The other one I'm thinking too is like on the TLS one. Thinking about how other operators implement this as well. One quality of life issue there that might be automatically configuring TLS sidecars so that we can handle things that don't do their own TLS encryption. So yeah, no, I think like looking through these stories, like there's most of these involve some new KUDO level feature. I think all of them could, like, whereas some are essential, some are just really nice quality of life improvements, but I don't see anything here that is solely just doable today in the framework. And in the sense of like, yeah, sure, you can do vertical or horizontal scaling today with parameters, but we should make sure that our Kafka framework has support of that via this cap, right? So that we have that integration test. And so I think, to me, like, I'm pretty good with everything here. I think we're going to debate I think we're going to get to an MVP version of some of these and then have to adjust it for quality of life as well.
Yeah, which to me, that's totally fine, I think.
The only one I would maybe push to add, and I know this is a hot topic and we're talking about this heavily, is like, what does, as a Kafka administrator, I can manage topics and users with, framework CRDs. And so I don't know if we want to add it to the cap or land it after we get a better handle on doing operations with Kafka. But that's the only one I thought of that was not represented here.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I thought about including that one too. And to me, it was, I decided this is something we can add later, but open to other opinions. What does everybody else think?
I'm fine with it.
Because to me, it's kind of, I could go either way. I think one way it's a quality of life improvement because you can just use standard Kafka tools to do these operations. At the same time, it is sort of it would highlight sort of a really neat feature of KUDO, which is to do these operations declaratively.
This is a living document too, though, right?
Yeah, in general, just keep scope small so we can ship it. So that's why I left that out for now. But no, I agree with you. Let's go with this, and then if we want to add it, we can add it.
All right, I think that is perfectly timed as well. I think the next point here on the agenda, let me share real quick my screen, is open discussions proposal for new caps. I would say I don't have a new proposal for a new cap per se, other than maybe looking into more stuff with secrets that is then maybe needed for that stable Kafka one, but we can get there later on as well. So please, everyone, feel free to contribute ideas or start a discussion about something we haven't touched here yet, to just like start it. Okay, going once, going twice, and let's transition that right into the Q&A, also an open call for everyone. One thing that I have to add there is with I worked yesterday on polishing up a little bit. Oh, that was the word that I used. Couldn't find earlier. Polishing, yeah. Polishing up the Flink framework, and so I don't know, Tom, did you have time to look at it?
Can't hear you, Fabi. Maybe I'll get back to you tomorrow. Sorry.
All right.
I'm just kidding. I can hear you fine. I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah, the recept cut out, and then I heard. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Good. Is there any more things people have questions about? One thing that Tom mentioned to me, what I think was also very helpful, is about the approval process. So if one of the like editors or authors of an PR is already an approver, that doesn't require 2 approvals, or looks good to me. That is essentially.
That was a suggestion, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a great suggestion, and helps a little bit for clearance and guidance around like when do we actually start merging something. I really like that. What is everyone else thinking? Just to maintain also a little bit the quality of the code and the reviews and stuff. I think that's for now at the scope that we dealing with the right approach.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first part? It cut off for me.
Yeah, so Tom suggested to have like typically we have in our CAP process that we can't just merge something when it's like having really 2 approvals. But if the author of that PR is already an approver, that kind of counts already as 1 approval. So it would just require 1 approval, 1 additional approval to be able to actually be following the CAP process.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah,
right?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
that's fine.
These are, I mean, CAPs aren't really risky, right? Like they're living documents. It's not like a CAP is going into a releasable binary. It's not like this is a recording of the conversation and justification for our features, right? So totally down with that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just some things I thought of to fill the Q&A one with some material. Can you guys think of anything else that you want to discuss?
I had one thing. I kind of pasted it in the channel already. I think I would like to sort of get Flink to a good stopping point soon, so we can start implementing those features that the Kafka CAP highlights. So what's left to do, I guess, for Flink until we can say, hey, this is usable now for some use cases. We can write a blog post about it, and then shift focus to Kafka.
I just needed to review Fabi's PR I think he had some cleanup recommendations there. And then I was going to file a couple bug tickets with Flink itself that I found. And then I think we're ready to merge it in. We might move it from incubating to stable, just as a first version somewhere, just to make it seem a little bit more official and not actively being worked on. And then at that point, I think we'll try to ping Till and see if he can get someone to come in and play around with it and make sure it works for them the same way it worked for us.
And technically, officially, that would be then the first incubating one that moved to stable, which is also kind of a celebration.
Which is different because the other ones just went straight to stable. Like,
yeah, they're like, whoa. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Now feeling very happy with Flink. We showcase almost everything in this framework, which is also great. And we build it upon the fraud detection job and demo that we do within DCOS that also Jörg wrote. So that is also incorporated there and works now. So I think pretty good there. Yeah. Okay. The wrap up, one item I have, that's the only item I have, is the host for next meeting. I saw it's already Jared. I think, Jared, you added yourself there?
Yeah, I BDFL claimed it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Highly appreciate it. By the way, it's interesting, like you are a host when people come to your place, but when you look in those talk shows, you're actually a moderator. And if you have rotating moderators, the difference between what a host and a moderator is also, I think, interesting here. So, so you're a host and a moderator. Yeah. So, okay. But that was, I think, a great community meeting. We stick after the time plan, which is very great. We discussed quite in extension the stable Kafka example, which is great because that's actually what we are focusing on next. And we didn't have any more caps suggestions or other Q&A, which is, I think, also a very good sign with the questions and with the caps just showing that we're focusing a lot on the current caps. So as a wrap up, I would say this was a wonderful meeting. We had in total like 6 participants, which is also steadily growing. And we meet then next time on the 4th of April. It's a funny date, 4-4. It's a lucky number in some cultures. So hope none of you guys get married at that day. And with that, I would say see you next week. We might change the time slot there to make it a little bit maybe more European friendly or Pacific friendly. I don't know.
What do we like more?
Let's do. I would feel Pacific friendly because I know there's a lot of people who are doing early meetings, early Pacific, stand-ups and whatnot. And so I would propose that the next one be Pacific time friendly, and we do maybe 3 p.m. Does that work for?
We can shift it 3 hours, like move it Pacific time to 11 PT, having it then Eastern time 2 p.m. 1 p.m. Sorry, no 2 p.m.
Yeah, Eastern 1 p.m. would be good. Yeah.
So Eastern 1 p.m. or Eastern 2 p.m. What's?
Let's do 1 because some people I'd like to attend this are
sure 1 p.m. is
busy
great.
Between 2 and 4 Eastern, and then maybe the week after that we'll do a early morning EU friendly one.
Mm-hmm.
Early morning Eastern, really early morning Pacific.
All right.
And then so maybe we do 2 regularly scheduled ones a month and then 2 off time zone ones. Does that sound like, I don't know, I don't think we need to like think about it too much, but does that sound generally reasonable to everyone?
Yeah, I think it does.
All right.
Good.
Wonderful. That is 18 UTC, I think, just shifting it with 2 general, I think, but we'll get to that. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And
Bobby, are you going to update the calendar, the KUDO community calendar, so people know?
That's a good follow-up. Yep, I'll update the calendar to those times.
Thank you.
Okay. Everyone have a great rest of your Thursday.
See you guys.
Thanks for hosting. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.